Hello and welcome to another edition of What Does the Giraffe Say with me, Kathleen Retourne. We are a service that aims to reconnect people with conservation efforts by holding live interviews on social media. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by David Amyot, and he is the owner and guide for Safari Guide Africa. So David, if I could just hand over to you, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and about the company that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kathleen. Wonderful. And thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so I'm a fifth generation Zimbabwean. And yeah, just absolutely passionate about, what I do, which is, principally to guide as a safari guide here in Zimbabwe. So, yeah, about 20 years ago, started out in the industry. And, essentially about 8 years ago, found that there was so much wildlife dynamic that I wanted to share with people. We were getting a lot of videos and photographs and all sorts of stuff. So, firstly, we got a YouTube channel and we called it Safari Guide Africa. And then from that point, we started up, on Facebook and, a couple of other platforms, Instagram we're on as well. And, it's quite extraordinary how the platform itself has grown, from strength to strength. So, yeah, it's just a wonderful, thing to be able to share, our day-to-day in the bush, with like-minded people. And that's really what it was about, was, just to share what we were seeing out there. And, of course, as time went on, the following, with the following growing and, with the guiding and what have you, there was more and more, a lot of my guests and a lot of inquiries started to come through, in terms of people looking for private guides, to be privately guided. And so with that, Safari Guide Africa now since has grown into a private guided business, in addition to having the sort of social media platforms. We do a little bit of stuff as well, in conjunction with a couple of wonderful conservation efforts. Principally, we've done one called Rave the Rhino, which is which was a brand new thing that my partner Nicholas Marilia, and he had actually thought up this idea of live streaming, a music, a little music thing, and principally working in conjunction with Save, which is headed up by Nicholas Duncan. So the idea was that all proceeds would go to Save, who do an enormous amount of work, in terms of, putting money into the anti-poaching units on the rhino. It's focused on the rhino. So Kathleen, yeah, it's all there. Hey, it's wonderful. Yeah.
So your background previously, before you went into the safari and photographic side of things, you had been trained and had been working within the hunting industry. What was it that made you decide that you wanted to make the switch? And do you find that other people are making similar decisions now?
Yeah, Kathleen, well, it's amazing that you asked that. Up until 1980 in Zimbabwe, safaris were literally in their infancy. The majority of our old family friends, early family friends, those guys were all ex-national parks rangers and wardens. And the majority of those guys, having left national parks, straight away, went into the hunting, because that was the only thing that you could actually do in the wildlife industry. Now, with me coming along, what happened was I submitted my CV, not choosing any particular industry, but rather just, having a passion for the bush, having been brought up in the bush, wanted to do something with the wildlife, and submitted my CV with a photographic company. The other was with a hunting company. And ironically, it was the hunting company accepted my CV. About 2 weeks later, the photographic company called, and Mum said, well, no, listen, terribly sorry, it's, he's working already. And that was, the die was cast, and so I entered the hunting. So it was just over 20 years ago now. And, but what I found over time was that, despite having had a wonderful career in that field, I really felt that, you know, walking up to the bull elephant and what have you, and I just found much more satisfaction, you know, showing people, you know, these magnificent animals, you know, and so it was with that, you know, to be able to share my knowledge of the bush with like-minded people, and you know, so that really for me was something that I grew to enjoy more so than the actual hunting safari. So with that, there was, you know, about 9 years ago now, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I made a change and you know, started to move away from the hunting into the photographic. So yeah, so here we are today.
And then do you find that now there are more opportunities to do work in different organizations? Do you find that other people are more likely to go and work in the photographic side, for example, nowadays?
Yes, well, you know, most certainly, you know, as time goes on, you know, Zimbabwe for a long time as a country, you know, we've been through a terribly challenging time, you know, through the 2000s. You know, you can imagine with the land reform and all the negative publicity that brought, it was very difficult for booking agents to sell Zimbabwe on the whole. And so with that, you know, a lot of the camps that were there, you know, literally mothballed and closed altogether. But you know, up until now, you know, the COVID situation, literally Zimbabwe was one of the destinations that was truly growing, you know, marvelously well. And yeah, sadly with the COVID, I think all of that is on the back foot at this point, up until, you know, up until either herd immunity or vaccine perhaps. But Kathleen, yeah, we soldier on, you know, despite all of that. I really think that there are a number of camps, a lot of new concessions, a lot of new camps. So most certainly for young guys wanting to come into the industry, and as well as for guests wanting a different experience, you know, there's a wonderful diversity of parks, and that's the beauty of Zimbabwe, is the fact that, you know, we've got the foothills of the Matusadona, some beautiful camps there. You know, we've got Mana Pools National Park, which is again a totally wonderful experience. You know, you've got the Matopas National Park, you've got Bonarejo, and you've got, you know, Wange, you know, which is again a totally different. So you've got all these different experiences. The Victoria Falls is just the gateway, you know, in my mind. But yeah, absolutely. You know, as the camps grow, there will be more opportunity.
Yeah. And then with you do, when you're doing your private guiding, you concentrate a lot on photography. I know you claim that you're not a professional, but I've seen some of your pictures, which are very good. And you help people with those. And you also have people coming from to do a wildlife documentary and that kind of stuff. How do you manage expectations here? Because a lot of times people might come thinking, I want to see a particular animal doing a particular thing. How do you manage expectations, and what are the challenges here?
You know, that is something that, you know, within a natural system, you just have absolutely no control over. And yes, it's true. You know, even in a place like Mana Pools, which really is the gem in Zimbabwe's crown, you know, you often have people, you know, that they've been to, say, Tanzania and seen, you know, hundreds of thousands of wildebeest during the migration, and they've done this and that, and you know, and you do find that people do come with an expectation that you know, that some of these areas, even amazing areas such as that, you know, don't quite deliver on. And what I found is that you've got to just, you know, you've got to unpack expectation, and you've got to pack your sense of humor, you know, on safari, because truly you don't know what you're going to see on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, you can only just, you know, get out there and enjoy. And, you know, one thing that is my speciality is we go out in the morning. So we head out at first light, and we look for the lion tracks. We look for where the herd of buffalo perhaps has crossed, you know, and with that, finding the lion tracks, we get out of the vehicle on foot, and we'll follow them, you know, into the Jess. And, you know, very often we do find them. And, you know, with that, it's just, you know, so that's the sort of experience that, you know, I like to, you know, our guests to experience.
Yeah.
Purely on the basis that it's a much more natural way of doing things than seeing things from a vehicle, and it also removes you out of the comfort of your vehicle, into a much more, so it's a very different element, and a very different, I guess, there's a lot more adrenaline to it, I guess, so.
So have you ever had any moments where the adrenaline's been pumping, any hair-raising moments?
With wildlife, and especially wildlife in a natural system such as that, you don't know what you're going to find on a day-to-day basis. So, sometimes you can come across an elephant that's been tusked in his backside by another elephant, and it's deep. It's a deep wound. It's possible. In fact, a few years ago, we had there's numerous examples, but in this one particular case, walked up to an elephant bull, and beautiful elephant bull in his 40s, and he took exception to us. And so after a lot of shouting and hollering at him, he turned around, and as he left, you could see, the pus drip from his back leg, and clearly he'd been tusked by another bull, and he wasn't very happy with life. So yes, we do, unfortunately, from time to time have these little bits and pieces, but that's all a part of the walking safari. Walking safari wouldn't be complete without a little bit of adrenaline here and there. Yeah.
Have you got any favorite sightings at the moment where you're like, this is why I love my job?
Kathleen, they are, there are so many different scenarios to encounter. You just, on a day-to-day basis, I just marvel at the wildlife out there. But, one of my favorite places, again, I talk about minor pools, and that is, by far, in terms of a walking safari, it's probably one of the best areas that anyone could wish to walk in. Probably, in terms of the fact that the elephants have a degree of habituation. So although some of the elephants have come in from the jets and what have you, you've got your regular bulls that frequent the floodplain. And it's a very gentle area. There's no human wildlife conflicts in that particular area because, you have the Zambezi on the one side, the Zimbabwean escarpment about 50 kilometers inland. And, you have safari areas and what have you on the side boundaries, which means that, the elephants are not going into the villages, getting shot at as problem animals and then coming in with issues. So from that perspective, it's a wonderful, wonderful area. And so we often will walk with the bull elephants. And, it's just lovely. There's one bull named Boswell. What he'll do is he'll stand on his back legs and he'll eat these albida, pods, which have an extraordinarily high nutritional value. And, and it's an amazing experience for you to stand there. And, you've got the setting sun in the background and you've got this blue light, of these massive trees. And I tell you, it's a magical experience, and certainly an experience I'd love everyone to have, because truly in your life, it is a Garden of Eden, and it's something that you must experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky. I've spent some time in Zimbabwe, and you're right, it's an absolutely incredible country. How have you found that the country's been impacted by COVID? I know we touched on it briefly earlier. Do you find there's been an increase in conflict with poaching, for example? I know a few people have said to me previously there's been an increase in bush trade, bushmeat trade. Are you hearing the same things?
Yes, definitely, Kathleen. I think the anti-poaching initiatives, are doing an extraordinary job, in view of these circumstances. And now, typically, what will happen is, a lot of these anti-poaching units dotted throughout Southern Africa virtually are reliant on bed nights. So what will happen is, the camps and lodges will establish a small foundation, or based on the bed nights they generate, a certain percentage of the money from that is, trickles down to the anti-poaching unit to employ staff and to keep the vehicles running and maintained, and, so on and so forth, keep the training up. I know the Zambezi Elephant Fund does a wonderful job in terms of not only, you know, acting as a funder, as a backup support with vehicles to, you know, move game rangers in and out of areas, you know, when the guys are on tracks. But in addition to that, they'll also largely get involved with training the national parks rangers by way of purchasing ammunition, you know, for a contact situation. So they will actually, you know, run a little shooting course, you know, for they need. So if they come into contact with poachers, because you must understand that the poacher carries the AK-47 not for the elephant, but largely for the anti-poaching rangers. And this is why, you know, Zimbabwe in 1992 embarked on a shoot-to-kill policy. But, you know, going back to the challenges to the anti-poaching units, they've now suddenly found with COVID and no international travel, the embassy's been closed for all this time. What's had now essentially happened is you know, any funds that they would come down to a trickle, and it's a tragic situation. So one can only hope that you know, that we're able to you know, that we're able to help where we can, you know.
And you kind of touched it again earlier as well, with the fact that there is no international tourism at the minute. How are people then, do you think there's going to have a change in the way that safaris operate in the future? Is there a focus at the minute for domestic? Is there a push there for domestic tourism? And do you feel people will now want to have those smaller, more kind of unique experiences rather than the big mass market stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the sort of question I don't really have an answer for. But most certainly, I do think that the way that we do things, the culture in the way that we do things has changed forever. And one can only hope that, you know, this pandemic, you know, is either done, you know, one way or another. But there's no question that there is a lot of room for a private guided safari. And I do think that a lot more people may, you know, not want to share a vehicle, you know, because of the whole COVID thing. So I do suspect that may change, but this is something that we're not really going to know until such a time as we get back to the bush and get back to do what we love, you know. You know, to be honest, yeah, most of the camps and lodges to this day remain closed, you know, because of the pandemic. And wow, you know, we can only hope that sooner rather than later we're able to reopen and get back to the grindstone. You know, fortunately in Zimbabwe, a lot of bookings have been postponed rather than cancelled, which is a real godsend. About 90% on average, you know, of the bookings had been postponed rather than cancelled. So, you know, so yeah, fingers crossed that this next year it's not a further postponement and we can carry on with what we do.
And do you think you'll see things changing, like in terms of technology? I know that you touched on it earlier, you have your YouTube channel. Do you think that there's going to be a more push for that to try and keep people connected with the wildlife?
Kathleen, you know, I mean, even this Zoom meets that we're having right now, so I think it's quite extraordinary that you know, we're able to get out onto this platform and say to people out there, hello, you know, we're still here and we're doing what we love to do. You know, and yeah, I think through technology, there's no question that there must be you know, change. But there's nothing like the real thing, though, Kathleen. You know, to be able to get, you know, to be able to smell the dust, you know, to be able to sit by that campfire and have that waft of smoke, and that just, you know, there's just that little bit of gold to that you know, a TV screen just doesn't do justice, you know. Yeah. So in my mind, yeah, wow, you've got to get out here, man, you know.
You can't beat the real thing.
100%.
And so with the fact that, again, you were doing your raving for rhinos, for example, as a fundraiser, what sort of thing do you think people can do back home to help support other organisations? I know you're very supportive, for example, of helping people in conservation and the anti-poaching work and that goes alongside it, how can other people back home get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that you know, I'm going to touch on this a little. You know, I hope I'm not wafting too much, but you know what we have is you know, a situation where a lot of people are passionate about wildlife and about causes, and you know, what's happening more and more is a lot of people you know, are following great initiatives, and all that I can encourage people you know, out there to do is just to get proactively involved, and the way that you can do that is literally by, you know, support the Zambezi Elephant Fund. I know the Zambezi Elephant Fund does a marathon every year out of New York, and you know, it's a wonderful you know, a money generator for a wonderful cause. So you can do that. Initiative like what we ran with Raving for Rhino, you know, which was just a wonder. In fact, we'll be doing one, you know, possibly in the next few months. We just need to you know, iron out all the finer details. And you know, with people going on there, and it's just, yeah, just a wonderful way for people to interact on social media and to support a really wonderful cause. You know, bearing in mind that, you know, we're you know, these rangers are you know, thin on the ground and have enormous challenges ahead of them. You know, in fact, I'll tell you now, Kathleen, a few times in the Zambezi Valley alone, I would be by Nyakisakana Gate. And so this is the entrance into minor pools. And it's, you know, 40 odd kilometers from there into minor pools. And, you know, the rangers would say to me, please, can you assist us? We haven't had water for 2 days. So if you can just help us take these containers for us so that we, you know, so at many different levels for food for the guys, they are short of very basic supplies. So it's not only, you know, the hardships that they face in terms of, you know, being out there with maybe a shortage of resources in terms of vehicles, but they're short of the very basics as well. So yeah, anything that anyone can do is just an absolute positive. So there's some great anti-poaching initiatives out there. On the border of the Matusadona National Park is BAPU, Boomy Hills Anti-Poaching Unit, headed up by Mark Brightman, and you know, they do wonderful work, and they deal with a lot of you know, he's got his you know, he's got his dangerous drugs license, so he'll get proactively involved with darting an elephant that's carrying a snare, or a lion that's picked up a snare, and it's a lot of it is snare wounds or animals that have been you know, have been wounded in one way or another, and he'll dart and treat them. You know, there's, again, we spoke about the Zambezi Elephant Fund, there's SAVE. So yeah, so there's all these guys, and you know, each and every one of them really value any support that they can get.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's becoming apparent in these times is that there are actually people out there that are still doing really good work in some really challenging conditions. You know, like the funding, as you're saying, is drying up. Sometimes you can't even get to the country that your operations are based in because of there's no travel. So yeah, I think anything that people can do back home is just help support them and share and try and get others impassioned about it as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, Kathleen, absolutely. So yeah, so we crack on and we try and support those initiatives that we can. You know, bearing in mind that also, I mean, the population of elephants, despite the fact that we have a little over 400,000 elephants in Africa, you know, with human encroachment on human habitat, with human encroachment on natural habitat, what's essentially happening now is that natural habitat is shrinking, becoming smaller and smaller. So this is where the snag is, you know, and in areas where customarily, you know, elephants would roam. Today, there's, you know, cities and highways, and the lion population has largely shrunk. Although, you know, the lions essentially, once again, if left alone, are okay. But with, you know, human encroachments on natural habitat, once again, we have, you know, issues of lions killing cattle and so on and so forth. And so these lions now, customarily, you know, where they had herds of buffalo, there are no herds of buffalo there anymore. It's just cattle. Yeah. You know, we have the painted dog. painted dog is even more endangered than the black rhino. There's a little over 3,000 painted dogs remaining in the African bush. The black rhino, there's about 5,000. The population in 1992 was 2,500. In today's world, there's a little over 5,000 black rhino. But once again, we're not out of the woods. In Mana Pools alone, there's Lower Zambezi Valley, there was 1,000 black rhino, and we lost 1,000 black rhino between 1980 and 1992. Yeah. And to this day, there are no more rhino left in the Lower Valley. So I really think that, despite the fact that there's nearly 500,000 elephants, I don't think it's something to sneeze at, because with loss of natural habitat and poaching, combined, really it's not difficult to lose entire populations and areas. So really any help that any of these anti-poaching initiatives can receive, once again, is just, it's much appreciated.
Okay, well, I've only got one more question left. If anyone back home watching this, if you have a question that you'd like to put towards David, then just pop it in the comments section and I'll have a look and we'll be reading the questions out. If you're watching this and it's no longer live, but it's on the Facebook site, do still put a question. David will get back to you and respond for you. So David, I just wanted to ask about the next generation, for the next generation of guides and conservationists. What kind of hope would you give for them if they're coming through in these difficult times?
Well, Kathleen, the bush is just such a magical place, and it's just such a wonderful, life to have, career to have, and it is most certainly, a career that I would encourage to the full. Despite that, if you are based in town, you'll find that you spend the majority of 300 out of 365 days in the bush, but I tell you, it is rewarding. It's a wonderful life. So I encourage anyone that would like to come into the guiding industry. Photographic industry is growing, and there's plenty of room for everyone to come in and do their thing and contribute. In fact, one girl I was speaking to the other day, Zoe Glyphus, who's she was training, and I guided her and her family some years ago. And she said to me, I'd really like to become a wildlife vet. And I followed her about a month ago, and she is doing the most extraordinary work in South Africa. So, she's, her Facebook page is full of animals that she's darting and treating, for different reasons. And it's extraordinary, how people, if passionate and having the right direction, can do the most amazing things. So it's not impossible. Just pursue your dream.
In Zimbabwe, is there like a set course that guides have to do to be able to be qualified?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. It's quite an intensive course. It's rather than a course itself, it's more an apprenticeship. So you would serve about a 4-year apprenticeship, under the tutorship of a professional, and once he deems that you have enough experience, you then go on to what is called a proficiency examination. So you do what's called a learner professional hunters and guides license. So both the hunters and guides do the same initial thing, and then from there you then do your practical examination, and your practical examination is a 6-day practical. In the bush, with your examiners. You take your examiners on safari for 6 days, and it'll be during those 6 days that you are asked vast numbers of questions. You approaching animals on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. You're tracking, you're proactively involved, and you're on safari. And of course, they're going to be asking all kinds of questions, throwing curveballs here and there. Yeah. So that's the fun of it. And once you get through that, then you're passed. But it's an open book examination. So literally you can say, look, I don't know. The only snag is that, throughout the day, that you're asked more and more questions, and, so it's all based on your experience, on your level of experience. Yeah. So if you have enough experience and they deem that you're safe and competent, and really the emphasis is on protecting your guests and being able to defend your guests in what is potentially a nasty situation, because Zimbabwe has always prided itself in being a prime walking destination. And so with that, there's always been a big emphasis on, on safety. Yeah. And so with that in mind, the examiners have always been quite diligent. And so, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question from Stacey Saddlefield. Hi, Stacey. She was wanting to take you back to the comment that you was making about the elephant Boswell. So can you explain why he does stand on his 2 feet, and do any other elephants do this?
In fact, you know something. I was chatting with Stacey the other day actually, and I was saying that as far as I'm aware, there were 3 elephant bulls in minor pools that stood on their back legs. There was Boswell, there was Fred Astaire, then there was another bull that we hadn't quite identified yet, but yeah, he was also standing. Interestingly enough, they reach up on their back legs because there's a particular tree called the Faidherbia albida, formerly known as the Acacia albida. So in today's world, they've recategorized the acacias. And so today, Faidherbia albida has a seed pod that has an extremely high nutritional value. And so the elephants have learned, in order to access food, nutrition, they've had to be able to reach up above where the other elephants cannot get to. And it's for this reason that Boswell himself will have a little group of elephants that will follow him around. And he has a real soft spot for the babies. He loves the babies. So, young bulls get swatted away and tusked. But the cows and the babies are always protected by Bos. He's the most gentle elephant. And, often, if you follow my Facebook page, on Safari Guide Africa, you'll see quite a few, pictures of Boswell. And very often it features a baby standing directly under him, sitting and eating the branch that he's got in his mouth. So he's a lovely elephant. But I understand from a friend that's just been into minor pools and has run a safari out of minor pools that he's noticed this year. You see, Zimbabwe is going through a horrendous drought this year. We just didn't get the rain. And so with that, the vegetation, that customarily you would see in the valley, we just don't have right now. And he's observed that a lot of other elephant bulls are now starting to stand as well. So, it's quite sad actually, Kathleen, because it's more a symptom, than that the ecosystem itself is dying. And so with that, these elephants, in order to get the nutrition that they need, are having to stand on their back legs. Yeah. So although it's wonderful for us to see and observe, because not very often you see an elephant standing on their back legs, it is a very tragic symptom of a much bigger picture.
Yeah, I think I didn't even think of it like that. You're right, but they've had to completely adapt their normal behavior just to be able to survive.
Exactly.
I've got another question from back home from Mark Eastbrook. He is asking, training anti-poaching units in Zimbabwe, is it primarily government funded or NGOs that fund these?
Okay, so the anti-poaching units in Zimbabwe, national parks themselves principally would traditionally run their own anti-poaching unit. And so these were all national parks rangers. So within your national parks areas, so areas within the jurisdiction of national parks, so that will be parks employees. However, you have a vast amount of area outside the national parks that also have elephants, lion, buffalo, and all kinds of wonderful wildlife. So Mark, it'll be essentially, those areas that will have privately funded anti-poaching units. So it's not just government funded and run, but there's also quite a bit of private stuff on the go as well. So although, say for example, Zambia's Elephant Fund SAVE, those kind of guys will work with national parks and will fund national parks, in their different endeavors. There are a number of other guys that do their own as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's all the questions we've got back home. We have got lots of nice, lovely comments that you can look at afterwards. People saying that they've been on safari with you and can't wait to go back. If you are, as I say, watching this later, again, please do put questions to us. Always happy to help. But for me, is there anything else that you wanted to close with, David?
Yeah, Kathleen, I just want to say a huge thank you to you, for allowing me this time with you, and to talk about Zimbabwe, and I think especially touching more on the anti-poaching and the conservation side. I think there's just so much that's needed, and so many other countries will get the spotlight, Botswana and South Africa, and yet Zimbabwe is nestled in between them and also has the most extraordinary resources. So thank you for helping us to publicize that, because I think it's a wonderful place, and most certainly hope you can get back sometime soon.
So do I. Okay, excellent. All right, then I'll wrap it up then here. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I'm really impressed with your passion and your driven towards conservation. And thank you everyone back home for watching. Appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.